ability for the parties to negotiate over that sort of impact is going to be an actual contradiction to the law itself. And in the bill, I haven't seen any language that says that this language shall be allowed to supersede the Public Employee Bargaining Act. Because one of the things that we have found, and myself working with the parents associations in the individual schools and through each school site's school advisory councils, to take out that ability of the parties is going to really detract from the ability of the parents and other organizations to have a direct impact on what's happening there in the school system itself. And so we would really like to see that language changed. But the majority of the bill we're now in support of and we feel comfortable with, but we feel really uncomfortable taking the ability of the parties to negotiate away.
Okay, thank you for that, Andy. Does that clarify your issues, Senator Keller? Is that sufficient?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we have Senator Garcia. Did that complete your question?
That's fine. Yes.
Senator Fishman. Senator Fishman.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I too like the amendments and it's improved the bill. And I'm liking the discussion that we're having here, people getting on board. It's going to take a little courage to get this passed through the legislature because lots of folks are going to have schools that maybe don't get such a good grade, and there's natural resentment to that. But what I really like a lot about the discussion that we're having is we're approaching this in a positive manner. That we're not using these grades as a punishment, but we're using it as a way to help schools move forward. And that's the same way we should be with our students when they get a grade. It shouldn't be a punishment, it should be a way of evaluating where we are and then how do we improve. And I want to thank Secretary Scandera because my sense is that's the spirit that she's approaching this in, and that's the way we're going to get from F to A. And so I just wanted to thank you for that and say I fully support where we're headed with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from committee members? What's the pleasure of the committee? Did you have a question, Senator?
Just a comment. Yeah, and I think I want to compliment the Secretary for working on this and the amendments, and I think it's really brought people around. I do. It's to Senator Fishman's point. I'm not sure in my gut with I'm still worried that in the period of bringing in this system, it's going to move funding from bad schools to good schools. And I know that over time that should actually work itself out, and that's sort of the point of the bill. But just given the area for me that I represent, it's just one of those issues where I just have a lot of concern about how it will impact my schools in the transition period. So I'm not sure if I love the ABCDEF grading. But it's that section 5 that to me is just, I need a little more time to think about it, get behind it, talk to my folks. So, this is a committee that I think the bill's going to move forward, and it should. It absolutely should move forward. But I'm going to withhold directly supporting it so I can have some more time before the floor to talk to my schools, because I'm worried that, it might only take 2 or 3 years, but for those 2 or 3 years, I'm just going to watch the flight of potential funding and students leave, and I know that that's sort of the point. But in the meantime, the folks who are staying, I think, might suffer, and so I just still worry about that transition period. So I'm going to meet with some of my principals and both on all sides of the spectrum, sort of politically on this, and try and figure it out before the floor session. So I just wanted to let you know kind of how I was thinking about that. And we don't have any money right now, and so it's easy to do this actually because we don't really know what we're looking at. Right now the dollar number is 0, and I think if the dollar number was really high, it might be a different equation. And so without specifying that dollar amount, I can't. It's just too much of an unknown for I think the area that I represent and for the schools. I don't want to go home quite yet and say, hey, I'm the one who lost a bunch of funding for our school. That's what I'm worried about. And I think that's a legitimate concern. So I'll keep working on that. I may come around on this on the floor, but I just want to share that.
On that point, we have Senator Garcia, and
Yes.
then we'll let Senator respond.
Yes, Madam Chair, my initial concern was the stigma that children receive when they're failing school. And I gave the example of Booker T, but you know what? Once the parents came around, I mean, they're meeting AYP, and that's one of the really bad things. So, and I also want to commend, congratulate the secretary. She's been very good to me with all of us, and just working together, I think is what will make it happen. Thank you. Thank you, Madam.
Senator Esposito.
Madam Chair, just for Senator Keller, I would have that concern too, if the funding for schools went specifically to the school, and if we had students that were leaving, but that's not the case. The funding goes to the district distributes the funds according to the programs that they have in place. And I think Secretary Scandera will indicate how some additional funds can be put into those failing schools, especially that lower 25%. And I think that's the whole issue here, is that if we target those lower 25%, those are probably not going to be the kids who are going to be leaving. So we're going to continue with funds to, and the PED in failing schools will be very restrictive in the programs that they have for those students, and so the funding will have to follow those programs. And so I'll yield to Secretary Scandera.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senator Keller. Specifically, I heard some of your concerns on that. Two things I'd like to just give you as you go back and speak with your principals, et cetera. Number one, based on other experiences, other states implementing similar programs like this, one of the things that happened actually in the schools, not unlike what Senator Garcia references, parents actually got more engaged. And the schools that were failing did better, as did the surrounding schools. So it had a positive effect at the school and the surrounding schools. In addition, in regards to your concerns regarding funding, I did want to point out just, and I gladly sit down and talk this through in more detail, but currently, for example, we send to our low-performing schools 10 to 12 million per year over the past 5 years for a total of over $60 million in our school improvement grants alone. That does not include our Title I funds of $90 million that came through, and our IDEA-B, which can also be used, and IDEA-B is $95 million, and Title I is $90 million through R just in this last bit. So gladly sit down and chat with you more about additional funds that can be used in our lower performing schools and that go to our lower performing schools for this express purpose, because I too want to see and make sure our resources are headed to our students that need them the most.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and I know we had spoken, and I did talk to one principal and a couple of teachers who were, not that it matters, but they're not part of any kind of teachers association or anything like that. They just happen to live near me, and it was just very interesting because it's hard to have comfort, I guess, in what you're saying, because we are giving the Secretary of PBD a lot more authority, and I think that's a good thing, and I actually compliment Senator Aspel for supporting this, because usually he'd rather have authority down at the school board level. So I appreciate that, but I think it's the question just came up. Why would you in the short term support shifting an incremental dollar away from our schools? And I understand in the long term that actually should come back, parents should get involved, and then scores should rise, and then more funding should come in. But the question is, that might take 3 years, and in those 3 years, that transition period, I think my communities might be hurt. And the parent argument too, I hope that's the case, and I believe conceptually that it would be, but in certain neighborhoods in my area, the international district, parents have all sorts of challenges, and it's just unfortunate that they're between working 2 jobs and between the various public safety challenges that they have. I think there's a lot of skepticism on whether or not, my community turns over 25% every 4 years. And the schools, I think the homelessness rate in my schools is 20%. That's children who are homeless. So, how are parents going to be involved when they're homeless and they're staying on all those hotels in Central and moving from one to the other? So, for me, I guess that, again, I think this is it's the right direction for our state. I'm just worried about it for my district. I mean, I really think we could be sort of a loser in the equation. I know you have no control over homelessness in APS, and that speaks to social determinants. But again, I mean, that's why this is very difficult for me, because I don't understand how this is going to help out those children. I mean, I think they need something different. They need 8 to 5 schooling, and unfortunately that costs money. They need all the free breakfast, or nutritious breakfast and lunch and after-school programs that we can throw at them, because going home or leaving the school grounds is a disaster for them. And so that's what I'm interested in working on, and wish I could find ways to fund. And so I just want to be careful, because incremental bonus dollars could be used for those programs. But it's highly likely in my situation those bonus dollars wouldn't be going to those schools. So, thank you, Mr. Madam Chair.
I just want to say that, just to remind committee members, we already have a system that labels schools, and the system we have now is A or F. So we already have money that can go to schools that are incentives for improvement, and we already have the Sonoy money, which is for schools in need of improvement. So this really is an enhancement of what we're already having to do under federal law, and I think that this gives schools an opportunity, those schools that are serving students that Senator Keller was talking about, it gives them an advantage, because it allows them to show the growth that they're making and not just be evaluated on where they're at statically. I do want to say, though, that I think the biggest challenge in moving forward with this is going to be capacity at the PED, and I worry about that. We came into the session with a recommendation for the PED's budget at $12.4 million. The executive recommended 10.9. Who knows if it'll be cut down further than that, and it worries me that this will only be as good as how the rule gets done and how it gets implemented. So I think we really need to keep our eye on that as we go forward. So we have a motion and a second, so go ahead and call the roll.
Senator Asbill?
Yes.
Senator Fishman?
Yes.
Senator Garcia?
Yes.
Senator Keller?
No.
Senator Kernan? Senator Pinto?
Yes.
Senator Root?
Yes.
Senator Burnett Sanchez?
Yes.
Senator Sapien? Senator Nava?
Yes, we do passes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much.